pressure does this mean is on Dak Prescott this season?
Zero. Skip, last year he made $75 million. You would have thought last year would have been the year to have pressure because he had fought Jerry tooth and nail about getting the contract extension, and he got more than he originally hoped for. And what happened? Nothing happened. That's what happened. Now he's in the second year of this contract. He has 2 more years. They have the 11th best odds. So what the booking houses and Fox Bet are telling you, they're not even top 10 favorite. They have the 11th best odds. So what pressure? What move did they make in the offseason? Says, you know what? This is the move that gets them closer. We watched the Rams win the Super Bowl, go out and get an Allen Robinson, go out and get a Bobby Wagner. We watched the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They lost to the Rams in the divisional round and go out and get a Julio Jones. We've seen teams make moves. We watched the Bengals lose the Super Bowl and completely revamp their offensive line. So we've seen teams we watched the Buffalo Bills lose a heartbreaking game in the divisional round and go out and spend $70, $80, $100 million on Von Miller. So we've seen teams that amp the pressure up on themselves as far as getting to the Super Bowl. What did the Cowboys do? Sign a guy for $1 million, sign Anthony Barr. Anthony Barr could play huge dividends if he has any juice left in the tank, but I don't think there's any pressure on Dak. You know why, Skip? Because these endorsements come even though he hasn't won anything. These endorsements come, he's never been an MVP. These endorsements come as the Cowboys, you said, they're all about to be, if they make the championship game, that'll be 27 years since they last made the championship game in 96 to 2023. So there is no pressure on the Cowboys because that revenue generating machine, Skip, $1 billion in revenue, $8 billion evaluation. There are no pressure on the Cowboys or the Cowboys players because it's status quo. Good things happen financially whether you win or you lose. So there's no added pressure on Dak Prescott. He's not in the final year of that contract like he was, and he had gone to contractual war, as you like to use the term, with Jerry Jones. So I don't believe there's any pressure on Dak Prescott. Pressure to do what? They haven't won. It's not like, oh, they won the Super Bowl a year ago. They won the Super Bowl 2 years ago. They've got to get back. They haven't even seen the Super Bowl unless it was on TV. So there's no pressure on Dak Prescott. Zero.
By the way, you neglected to mention that the Cowboys have added little KVT, little Turpentine, little Cavante Turpin, the USFL MVP, who took a kickoff and a punt all the way to the house the other night against the Chargers, albeit in a preseason game. And I think he will provide new voltage to the Cowboy offense as well as the return game and aid Dak Prescott in giving him another weapon that he can feast upon. And by the way, they feasted pretty well last year. I know they had Amari. I know they had little Cedric, but they were number 1 in yards gained, number 1 in points scored last year. So just because I'm feeling so good about 11 from Heaven joining us, and by the way, I forgot to hold up my jersey here just one more time. I'm already in business.
He don't play offense.
I got it. Just wanted to hold it up one time. I'm feeling so good about Micah being on the show every Tuesday during the football season. I'm going to continue the euphoria into this topic by saying I believe there's huge pressure on Dak this year, and I just have a gut feeling, maybe more with heart than head, that he will finally live up to said pressure. You mentioned what happened in 2019. Everybody said, Dak's betting on himself against Jerry Jones. He's going to hold off signing that deal that Jerry said was imminent to be signed. They just needed to cross the T's and dot the I's. And all of a sudden, they went to contractual war. And what did Dak do down the stretch, the final 13 games of the 2019 season? He went 5-8 and often stunk it up, especially on the road. So I thought he crumbled under the pressure to win a contract from Jerry Jones, but he fell into it anyway. Jerry finally decided, I got no way out. I guess I got to pay him market value. And Jerry sat right next to him at the press conference and admitted publicly, I overpaid you. And last year, it often appeared down the stretch that Jerry woefully, dangerously overpaid his quote-unquote franchise quarterback. I like the Dak that I'm seeing this year. He has lost his quote-unquote baby fat. I think going into year 7, He's more comfortable in his own skin. He's more comfortable in being the quarterback of America's team. And yet here we go with yet another blockchain, big national TV commercial. Every time I look up, there's another one. There's a big direct TV one with the housewives that's just dropped. And yesterday was both heavenly and horrifying to me, Shannon, because as we spoke about to open the show 24 hours ago, the Madden simulation had Dak not only winning the MVP, but shattering every NFL record for yards passing and touchdown pass. What was it up to? 57 touchdown passes. He had 37 last year, which was,
yards.
Yeah, 37 was the franchise record last year that he set. 57, and even I admitted, well, that's probably a little much. But the Madden simulation had the Cowboys going 12-5, which they did a year ago. I predicted they're going to go 12-5 this year, and yet Madden says that will win the #1 seed in the NFC. I know that, as you know, that I believe in jinxes. I hate to heap undue pressure up on the shoulder pads of especially America's team's quarterback, but Shannon, I just got a gut feeling he's going to live up to it this year. And I do think he has a great shot at MVP right now. I'd give Brady a slight edge in that category, but I think he'll be neck and neck. I think that opening night game will be a preview of a down-the-stretch battle between Dak and Brady for MVP. And I think Dak will live up. And I do like some of the little additions to this team. I do think Tyler Smith is going to help at left guard, even though now he's got some ankle injury and missed practice yesterday, but they said it wasn't serious. The point is, I'm starting to like my team a lot more than I did last week. And maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe I'm falling right back into the trap, as I admitted yesterday. But I do like the feel of this team against a pretty easy schedule to go 12-5 and keep Dak in the MVP race all year long.
But Skip, here's the thing, though. I could see if there was pressure of the Super Bowl. It's been so long since you had the expectations. This isn't the 90 where you guys were expected to not only compete, but to be in and win the Super Bowls. That's been removed. Dak has the contract. I can see if he was in the final year of his contract and he's trying to get another contract. But he's starting the second year of a 4-year deal. So he's starting the second year of a 4-year deal. He doesn't have the expectations of the 90s Cowboys when it was expected that you guys make the Super Bowl. I'm trying to feel, where does he feel the pressure at?
Well, it didn't help with the Madden simulation that he's going to shatter NFL records, right? Okay, we could start there.
Man.
And Shannon,
No.
I'm speaking from the perspective of lifelong diehard Dallas Cowboy fan. I don't
Yes.
I don't read a lot of what's on the internet, but I do keep up with sort of the Cowboy Nation fandom. Just in my
Yes.
little small sample size of talking to Cowboy fans, I know. I think this is a huge year for Dak Prescott. I think if he falls on his face mask yet again down the stretch this year, if they fail to win the division or do win it and fall on their face masks in the first round game at home.
What's going to happen? They're going to cut Dak? They're going to trade Dak? So let's just say, for the sake of argument, Skip, those scenarios, what you say. Okay, they win the division. They fall flat on their face. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, it's worse than that. They don't win the division. They don't make the playoffs. What's the worst thing that could possibly happen to Dak Prescott?
I can just tell you there's rampant skepticism in Cowboy Nation about him already. If he craps out again this year, I just think he's going to be condemned by Cowboy Nation. I think it's going to get really sticky for him. And I do think there will start to be a groundswell of, Jerry, what's next? Are you going to draft a quarterback? Are you going to try to trade up to get a quarterback? What's the future? I think the clock will start ticking on Dak Prescott. Again, it's impossible to cut him because of the contract. I just think that it will suddenly invoke a plan to replace him. And I don't want to see it, but again, it got so sticky between Jerry and Dak back in 2019 going into 2020. Remember what I was saying? Hey, if they're at such an impasse, if it's gotten to be such bad blood between the two of them. Remember, I was saying, well, Brady's available. Let's go get Brady. Let's just let Dak go. Let him go, and let's take the GOAT and see if he'll play for Dallas for 2 years. And you laughed and said, there's no way Tom Brady's going to play for Jerry Jones. And you were probably right about that.
Brady takes over. Brady takes over a building. Those guys, a Brady, a Peyton Manning, they take over your entire building. Jerry Jones is not conceding any of the face value to Tom Brady of the Dallas Cowboys. Skip, you're stuck with Dak Prescott for the foreseeable future. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but this notion of pressure, considering that he plays for the Dallas Cowboys and it's been so long removed. You guys, look, the Cowboy faithful believe that every year is their year.
Yep.
And every year it ends in disappointment, and they tell you, wait till next year. And all of a sudden, it's next year, and the same thing happened this year that happened last year, and the year before that, and for 26 years.
26 years.
So I don't see the pressure on Dak that you see, because nothing changes. There is no expectations. You have the 11th best odds, not top 10, not top 5, 11th best. Dak is already skipped. You said he made $75 million last year.
He did.
And he got him what? And you made really no moves. Okay, you get Turpin. But and that was late. That wasn't during the free agency period. That happened less than a month ago.
Okay, you
got
me. Yeah, no, I'm with you. But the point is, Shannon, what's the oldest cliche? The quarterback always gets too much credit and too much blame. But when it comes to America's team's quarterback, he definitely can get too much blame. And now Dak Prescott faces his highest degree of difficulty. You and I agree. The offensive line is aging. It's not what it used to be. Zeke has aged.
Zeke's not the same back.
He's just not the same, although I do love the way his body looks right now, especially in that new, DraftKings ad featuring the master of the universe, Kevin Hart, where Zeke's gone with his crop top, bare midriff, and he looks great. He looks better than he has at any point as a Dallas Cowboy. So maybe he got in shape like his best friend Dak did. Maybe he can have a bounce-back year and help support Dak the way he actually carried Dak in years 1, 2, and 3, when Zeke obviously led the league in rush yards per game. So, again,
correct.
Dak's up against it because he lost a guy he had great rapport with in Amari Cooper, except Amari always just vacated on the road. But the point was that they did have great chemistry. I thought Cedric Wilson had great chemistry with Dak, especially on 3rd and 7. But the point is, now Dak's up against it. You got to show us something when you're going to have to do more with less. I do think little turpentine will help some. And I do think CeeDee Lamb is poised to have a breakout top 10 receiver year. So all that surrounding Dak should help him some. But I think Cowboy Nation is looking at number 4 saying, show us. You haven't shown us before. You got to show us now, because in his last 2 full seasons that he played, he failed miserably down the stretch both times.
Mm-hmm. But Skip, let me ask you this. But okay, you lose Amari. You basically gave Amari away to the Cleveland Browns. You lose Cedric Wilson in free agency. Shouldn't you give Dak options? Like if I go to a restaurant and I try to order my dish and they say, well, Mr. Sharpe, we don't have it, but here's some comparable options. Well, where's the options? Where's the replacement for Amari? Where's the replacement for Cedric Wilson? Now, you believe Turpin maybe be a viable option. He just may. Yep. He just may be an option. But I'm saying, as of right now, we don't see the options that Jerry should have given Dak for the things that he took away from Dak. If you take something from him, you should at least replace it with something as, if not as valuable, but comparable. Do you believe that Tolbert, the guy that they took in the 3rd round,
no.
Do you believe he's a comparable replacement this year for Amari? Neither do I. Now, we could both be wrong, but I don't believe it this year.
Okay, but the slack will have to be taken up by the new number 88. It's got to be CD or bust. But I will remind you, speaking of your position, tight end, that Jerry did franchise tag Dalton Schultz. So he definitely has rapport with Dak, and so he's going to have to play an even larger role in the pass-catching part of the offense.
Yes, Dak has a lot of confidence in him, and if he can just build on what he accomplished last season, they should be fine at that position.
Thank you.
Cowboys had a big practice open to the public at the Star yesterday, guys, and fans sure were excited about what they saw. We'll see if it translates to the regular season.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.